guys, welcome back to Year of the Empire. We just watched the movie Trancers, and what are your thoughts?
Best movie? I would say the best quality.
Yeah.
Story's probably, I think, one of the better ones, too. I mean, you might be able to argue.
Yeah.
But quality-wise, best movie so far.
I think...
We're only a few movies in, so I mean...
I think so far Trancers has been the best. I feel like it's...
I've heard so much about Trancers and stuff.
Good. This is a movie I'd already seen before we did this review. And personally, I knew, so I am kind of biased, but, I remember watching this a couple years ago, and I loved it. I've seen all the sequels, which maybe we'll talk about one day, but...
Year of the Trancers. God.
There's a lot of them. I think there are 5.5 sequels, which we will talk about at a different time.
So Sean's already got in his head that we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, so. If it's in my head, it's going to happen. Yeah. So, anyways, Trancers. What it's about is it's basically a Blade Runner ripoff with a little bit of Terminator time travel.
It was really only Blade Runner for the very beginning.
Yeah, it was. So what happens is it is a cop in the future and way distant. Yeah, this used to be known as Future Cop when they were trying to test out the names.
Super gay.
Anyways, in this one, it's a cop in the future, and he's instead of Deckard going after replicants in Blade Runner, he is going after things called Trancers, which are kind of zombie-esque. They are these...
They're in a trance.
Yes, they're in a trance, but when they get triggered, they become these weird zombie superhuman strength.
Kind of like a lot of people you see on college campuses nowadays.
Yeah, just like that. In it, his arch nemesis is this guy named Whistler who tranced people and put him in these and made us all
there's
kind
a
of
movie where
zombie army.
Whistler in it. Oh, never mind. I know.
What are you thinking, Blade?
Blade 2. Yeah. Or Blade. I was just that's funny. That's just how my brain was going. I'm like, where's... And then I thought about it, oh.
Yeah, the Blade movies. In this movie, he starts out in the future going after all of these different Trancers, and he's tracking them down, and he thinks he's killed this main Whistler guy, so all the bad stuff is behind him. Finds out that he has sent his consciousness back down the line all the way to 1985, I think was the
they
current
have to
year.
send their consciousness to an ancestor.
Yes. So, interesting time travel.
It was actually a very that's a cool time travel mechanic.
I've never seen that, heard of that before, but
yeah, I would like to see more stuff with that type of time travel.
Well, I got plenty of Trancer sequels to fulfill that wish. So in it, they go back in time, and he's trying to track down the ancestor of Whistler, who he believes
is a police detective.
Yeah, he's a police detective, but he thinks that they're transferring people in there. But the main reason he's going back is because when Whistler went back, he is killing the descendants of this High Council, so they slowly start disappearing, and there's only 2 left now. So they send the best cop they can send, Jack Death, best name in the world, played by Tim Thomerson from Dollman that we've reviewed.
Tim Thomerson.
That guy's so cool.
I feel like you probably brought Trancers up in that review at least one time.
Tim Thomerson's one of the coolest actors in any Empire Picture or Full Moon movie. So in it, he goes back to his ancestor, and he is meets what his the girlfriend of his ancestor at the time, which is played by Helent Hunt. I think it's Lena.
I mean, at the time, it really wasn't even girlfriend. It was one night stand.
Yeah, but it was supposed to develop into eventually his ancestor.
He had it good for his great grandma.
Yeah,
which is creepy.
He got with his great grandma.
I'm not a fan of that.
Yep.
They're probably don't think about it.
Don't think about that.
No.
So
creepy.
With that, it's played by Helent Hunt, who was before she was famous. She was in Twister.
Well, of course it was before she was famous.
Yes. So, anyways, with those stuff, honestly, this is just one of the coolest movies because it is 76 minutes, very fast paced. They do not waste any time explaining anything. They just straight up just kind of go for the action. And every time someone there's a point where she something goes back in time, and he gets this watch that can go pause for 10 seconds.
Yeah, it pauses a second to make it feel 10 seconds.
But it actually
in
feels
reality
30 seconds.
it's a minute. It's just him
it's a cool mechanic. Again,
cool mechanic.
They pause time randomly because why not?
A lot of cool mechanics in this movie.
Yeah. Well, anyways, when his watch goes back in time, she's like, "Oh wow, how did that happen?" And he just doesn't even answer that question.
You're like,
like they don't bother explaining anything.
Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to.
It's just this movie's just so fast paced, and I think it works for it. 76 minutes isn't a long movie.
They could have added a good 10 minutes explaining
I feel like
that.
it should be longer, but this just gets right to the point, and the action on display.
It was pretty good action.
Better than pretty much anything else.
It wasn't as brutal as like Dollman's action though.
No, Dollman exploded people. But this movie again, it's rated R. Like there's a lot of F-bombs, but there's like a lot of violence going on. A lot of people die, get shot, whatnot, and it's just I can't express enough good things about this movie. I probably loved it more than you probably loved it.
It was a good movie.
I absolutely.
I would definitely give it a thumbs up. It was a good movie. I would recommend it. It was fun. I mean, it obviously if you're going in, you're like, I want Blade Runner. It's not Blade Runner.
It's not Blade Runner.
But it's not trying. It really wasn't trying to be. I don't think.
No, honestly, it's just kind of like a dash. A little bit of a pinch thrown in there.
Yeah, it was mostly like nothing.
It was it was kind of its own thing. It eventually became like the aesthetic of Jack Death is very Richard Deckard from Blade Runner.
They're the same.
The character's the same, but after the opening, once he goes back into the 80s, it really is its own thing. And with that, they kind of explore some interesting stuff. They film on location with so much stuff. You see them out and about.
A very 80s feel to it.
Yeah, they go to a punk club at one point.
Every 80s movie, I swear, has like some type of punk rock, like club or people or just something.
Like Terminator.
That
we were talking about.
When did when they have to save the whales in Star Trek movie? I forget which movie that was.
Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home?
Yeah, they had like a punk guy in that. I think that was the 80s. That could have been the 90s.
That was the 80s, I
feel like that was the... It's just that's something
Yeah, that sounds like an 80s thing.
Just gotta do the mohawk in there.
Yeah, and Liberty Spikes. It looks cool, though. Like, honestly, the aesthetic is awesome. And
80s aesthetic is a good aesthetic. I will state that.
This is better than almost anything you'll find in Full Moon's movies. Honestly, I really do think that Full Moon, we reviewed a bunch of like Z grade kind of stuff, and then some of the stuff in here might be like a C movie or something, or D movie. This is a B movie.
This is like a solid B movie.
It's not like a huge budget thing, but it's a decent budget for a Empire Pictures movie.
It's a B movie, but you have to take because B movies throughout time have changed. Like a B movie in the 50s is going to feel different than this. Is definitely a B movie for the 80s.
And it
lived up to it.
It nails everything it needs to be. Honestly, what I think really keeps this like one, the budget keeps it like a high level, but the acting, I think, by Tim Thomerson and Helent Hunt, I think it's just the two best people they have acting as the leads in a movie yet.
So much so they're like, hey, you want to come back for another movie?
Yep. And a sequel to that, and they keep on going. So anyways...
That's not saying much, though, for, like...
No.
Like, Empire Full Moon. Because they'll just keep going. It's like, you're going to be garbage? It's going to get out there. So.
We'll put it out there no matter what. I didn't want to talk too much about the sequels because I wanted to cover that in the future, but sequel-wise, none of them are Empire Picture movies. However, there was a failed movie anthology near the end of Empire Pictures before they went under, where it would have had a sequel to Dungeon Master, adaptation of a H.P. Lovecraft short story, and a sequel to Trancers. That fell apart, and for so long it kind of went unseen until eventually they unearthed the H.P. Lovecraft adaptation of The Evil Clergyman, I believe, and then of the Trancers. So that was kind of like Trancers 1.5. It's called City of Lost Angels. It's on this Blu-ray, but we have not watched it yet. Well, at least I've seen it. I haven't shown Shane it, because if we do review the Trancers in the future, we'll talk about it then. So technically, it sort of had a Empire Pictures era sequel,
we like
but
reviewing garbage.
Doesn't quite count. After that, everything went Full Moon.
I should have been a garbage man.
And just throwing away all
that should just end it.
I was throwing away all those Puppet Master Blu-rays that you got. Oh, God. Not worth it. But Trancers is worth it. So some of the cool stuff that I remember happening in here, just the way the zombies kind of come about are cool.
That I remember from 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, from 10 minutes ago. So the zombies are pretty cool. The way they have them in this is that they're like completely normal, then all of a sudden like a switch is flipped. Not a flip is switched.
I thought you were going to say that.
A flip is switched.
With the booper.
So a switch is flipped, and all of a sudden they are like kind of like, I don't know. There's like weird stuff on their face, a bunch of lesions. It looks like their skin gets very pale.
Basically, they make it pale, and they just put what is that like? I'm trying to think of what they usually use for like FX and stuff.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like they just kind of. It's not like they go like
very
super.
simple.
It's not like Walking Dead where they put so much effort. Different zombies. I'm not comparing that, but I'm just mean like the effect of them.
By zombies, I think it's closer to like a voodoo-like zombie than like a gnarly Romero zombie. But I think that's probably the best explanation for them, because all of a sudden like they just enter this trance and
they're fine, and he'll like turn like this and be like Santa's gonna try to kill you.
Yep. Oh yeah, he fights Santa in this. At a ball.
Santa.
Yeah, he does end Santa.
In front of children. It was great.
Glorious. Other stuff, the Punk Club, obviously. One of the characters I also liked... As you can
tell, I'm a little partial to this.
Another thing I liked in this was the last person they're trying to say that's an ancestor of someone on the High Council is a former baseball pitcher, but he's like washed up and he's like a hobo now. I think his name's Hap Ashby.
Yeah.
I think he's a great comic relief, I think, in this. It's probably the best comic relief that Empire's had so far. And it's just, everyone, you can tell, is just very funny, even when Jack Death isn't, like, trying to be funny. Just the way Tim Thomerson does his things and the seriousness of it. It's just, I think this movie just nails so many boxes that I absolutely love it.
Probably gonna
sequels
be
are a different story, but Tim Thomerson alone carries this franchise, and this is a great first entry. I think it's the best Empire Pictures movie up until this point.
Yeah, definitely best up to this point. Multiple categories. I
can't recommend it enough. Even if you're not like a fan of these crappy movies where you're not watching this review if you're not. But even if you're not a fan of this stuff,
you might be one of 5 people
awesome.
Watching this review. So
5 is very generous.
We put a lot of effort into nothing.
But honestly, I don't have a lot to say about else to say about Trancers.
Well, it's good. It was short too.
And
we usually have more to say when something's just like garbage,
trash.
Because then it's like, oh, like this happened. It's like, what the? But this was like solid.
Yeah,
I mean,
this is
like I said,
a good
B-movie, but it was solid.
I don't think I really have any complaints about it because it knows what it is, and it does it very well. And
no complaints.
It's a great start to a franchise that I highly recommend everyone else to seek out.
So watch it.
Yeah.